This is Mac OS Ken.
More deets on WWDC. Apple and Broadcom sign a big deal for small parts. And there's good customer service. Then there's Macs. It is Wednesday, the 24th of May, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Use code MacOSKen50 at factormeals.com/MacOSKen50 for 50% off your first box. This show is also sponsored by Issue, the all-in-one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital content. Creating once and sharing everywhere is fairly easy with podcasts. Noise is noise. The same MP3 can land in all sorts of channels, no changes required. Visual is different. You may want stuff on a website, on Instagram, in email to your clients. That can mean lots of reformatting, resizing, uploading, re-uploading. Could be a lot of work. Or you can use Issue. Whether you're working on your own, with a partner, or with a team, you can create and share engaging content that stands out in a matter of minutes. Not that you're reinventing the wheel. Issue works seamlessly with tools you're probably using already, like Canva, Dropbox, and InDesign. With Issue, you can create once and share everywhere. Get started with Issue today for free or sign up for an annual premium account and get 50% off when you go to issue.com/podcast and use promo code MacOSKen. That's ISSUU.com/podcast and use promo code MacOSKen at checkout for your free starter account or 50% off an annual premium account. That's issue.com/podcast with promo code MacOSKen. Details emerge around WWDC. When Apple first announced WWDC 23 back in March, the company said there would be a keynote and that some students and developers would be invited to watch the presentation together at Apple Park alongside the global online community. So we knew they were going to stream it, but we didn't know details. Of course, having been on the planet for the past few years, we could have guessed, and now those guesses have been confirmed. TechCrunch says the Cupertino company sent out invitations to select members of the media on Tuesday, confirming what just about anybody could have told you without realizing they hadn't actually heard it. The piece says the keynote is set to take place at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday, the 5th of June. It'll also be streamed live at the same time for anyone to watch from home. Or the office when nobody's looking. Hey, I haven't been paying attention. Has anybody heard anything about what they might announce this year? I am virtually on the edge of my seat. Apple announced a deal with Broadcom on Tuesday that was totally FBAR. I'm sorry, FBAR. In a fairly short press release that seemed geared more for investors and politicians than consumers, Apple announced a new multi-year, multi-billion-dollar agreement with Broadcom, a leading U.S. technology and advanced manufacturing company. Through this collaboration, Broadcom will develop 5G radio frequency components, including FBAR filters, and cutting-edge wireless connectivity components. The FBAR filters will be designed and built in several key American manufacturing and technology hubs, including Fort Collins, Colorado, where Broadcom has a major facility. That's multi-billion-dollar for the investors and several key American manufacturing and technology hubs for the folks on Capitol Hill. The press release pointed out Apple already helps support more than 1,100 jobs in Broadcom's Fort Collins FBAR filter manufacturing facility. The multi-billion-dollar deal will let Broadcom invest in more projects, technicians, and engineers. And did you know, Senator Who's-Its from the great state of wherever, that Apple supports more than 2.7 million jobs through direct employment, developer jobs in the thriving iOS app economy, and spending with more than 9,000 U.S. suppliers and manufacturers of all sizes in all 50 states across dozens of sectors. Now, I couldn't help thinking it would be neat to know what an FBAR filter does. Oh, the press release won't tell you. Neither will the plethora of articles written about the press release. I will, though, because that's the kind of guy I am. If I'm reading the explanation in Wikipedia correctly, FBAR filters serve to isolate components in 4G and 5G modems. According to the entry, they're designed to remove unwanted frequencies from being transmitted in such devices while allowing other specific frequencies to be received and transmitted. So, cutting down on interference not only improves efficiency, it also allows devices to handle a greater number of tasks. Again, if I am reading that correctly. Kinda made my head hurt trying. If I am right, feel free to let me know. If I am wrong, please do not tell me. My ego is very, 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 very fragile. Hey, remind me, where are these jobs going to be created again? Oh, that's right. Apple CEO Tim Cook was quoted in the release saying, "We're thrilled to make commitments that harness the ingenuity, creativity, and innovative spirit of American manufacturing. All of Apple's products depend on technology engineered and built here in the United States, and will continue to deepen our investments in the U.S. economy because we have an unshakable belief in America's future." I really need to work on my Tim Cook. Now let us check in with our friends in Europe, who aren't feeling too friendly toward Apple, it seems. The Next Web says competition regulators in the European Union are still going after Apple and Ireland for the 14.3 billion euros they say Apple owes Ireland. I honestly thought this whole thing was done. For others like me, the Next Web says the case dates back to a European Commission probe in 2016, which found that two tax rulings in 1991 and 2007 issued by the Irish Revenue Service to Apple had substantially and artificially lowered the tax paid by Apple in Ireland since 1991. Apple's effective tax rate in Ireland was as low as 0.005% in 2014. I'm no tax expert, but that does sound low. Here's the thing, though. When the EU said pay up, Apple and Ireland took the EU to court, that being the EU's General Court in 2019, and Apple and Ireland won. And you can see why I thought this whole thing was over. Silly me. On Tuesday, 4 years after the last ruling, the EU had an appeal heard by the European Court of Justice. A non-binding opinion will be delivered in the beginning of November. That will be followed by the court's ruling, according to the Next Web. More news in a moment, but first a word from Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit and sponsor of today's show. I've been dieting since mid-January. Happy to say I've hit my goal, but I'm still keeping an eye on what I eat. To that end, I chose from Factor's Calorie Smart offerings for my latest box, and I will confess I was a little bit worried. The sauces and flavors were really good before, but Calorie Smart doesn't scream delicious. I was a fool. Factor's Calorie Smart meals are just as tasty as the other Factor foods I have tried. If I hadn't known the al pastor shredded pork with cilantro, lime, brown rice, and pineapple salsa was calorie smart, I never would have guessed. The flavor did not say diet, just said delicious. And of course that comes with all the convenience you'd expect, delivered in one box, ready to eat after 10 minutes in the oven or just 2 minutes in the microwave. Whether you're doing keto, protein plus, vegan plus veggie, or calorie smart like me, give Factor a try, and I am sure you're going to love it. Head to factormeals.com/macOSKen50 and use code macOSKen50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code macOSKen50 at factormeals.com/macOSKen50 to get 50% off your first box. See what's made Factor America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Get 50% off your first box with code macOSKen50 at factormeals.com/macOSKen50. Hey, is that professional audio and video editing on your tablet, or are you just glad it's audio and video editing? Okay, cool. As had been announced, Mac Rumor says Apple on Tuesday released versions of Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro for iPad. Running through offers and requirements, the piece says both apps have subscription-based pricing set at $4.99 per month or $49 per year in the US after a 1-month free trial. Final Cut Pro is compatible with iPad models equipped with the M1 chip or later, and Logic Pro is available for iPad models equipped with the A12 Bionic chip or later. Both apps require iPadOS 16.4 or later. With those releases came updates for the Mac versions of the titles. Logic Pro 10.7.8 and Final Cut Pro 10.6.6 were both updated to accommodate projects from their new tablet-based counterparts. Additionally, the Final Cut companion apps Motion and Compressor got updates. So did the Mac version of iMovie, because why not? And finally today, 2 takes on customer service and disservice. First, HBO Max is dead. Long live Max. As had been announced, what remains of home box office has merged with a bunch of other stuff in a streaming service that 9to5 Max says pulls in content from HBO Max and Discovery Plus. Now, if you've had and or followed the HBO Max apps for tvOS, you will not be surprised to hear that the Max app for tvOS is either hobbled or messed up. According to 9to5 Mac, the new Max app for Apple TV switches away from Apple's native video player. Instead, the app uses a custom video player that is inconsistent with the rest of the Apple TV experience. Well, it's not TV. It's HBO. No, it's not. This actually happened back in 2021 as well. HBO made a custom thing. Apple TV users did not like it. HBO went back to Apple's way, and people were cool. If you're wondering who cares, well, you might, if you like such currently missing functionality as the Siri Remote's jog wheel, what did he, she, they say, picture-in-picture, system-wide audio and subtitle preferences, reduce loud sounds, dim flashing lights. That's a safety feature, by the way. HDR and Dolby Vision, support for matching content frame rate, and up next. If you're looking for hope in this viewing experience, it's possible that these things were not ditched. They may just not be working. 9to5 Mac says integration with the Apple TV Up Next queue appears to be supported, but is not working for many users right now. Hopefully this is a server-side bug that the company is working to address. It took them a long time, but they had a working app. Why not just rename that and add in new content? You can add new content, right? You can certainly remove content. Feels like an unforced error on the part of, what is this company even called at this point? Whatever they call it, it feels like an unforced error for which consumers are expected to keep paying. Now, seemingly from the other side of the planet, Apple's Eddy Q did a sit-down with CNBC personality Jim Cramer on Tuesday at the inaugural CNBC CEO Council Summit. Do you think anybody mentioned that Q is not CEO of anything? Awkward. Not that he's not a big and important deal. As CNBC points out, he's been a key figure in numerous Apple innovations, including the company's recent foray into sports streaming. According to the Not CEO, one of the keys to Apple's success is saying no a lot more than it says yes. In his talk with Cramer, Q said, "We say no to almost everything. When you get as large as we are, it's easy to think you can do anything or everything, and it's just not true." According to Q, according to CNBC, an idea only makes it off the drawing board at Apple if it's something the company knows it can execute well, and if it's something consumers really care about. Where Cramer was already an Apple adherent, it would not be accurate to say that his talk with Q was a road to Damascus moment. It did sort of read like one, though. A separate piece from CNBC had Cramer talking about the Q conversation. While the market is the market and Apple could be affected by it, Cramer said when you've got a great company that knows how to give its customers exactly what they want and what they need, even if they didn't know it existed, that's a stock you can buy into market-wide weakness. Cramer went on to say, "When I listen to Eddy Q, as I did today, I'm reminded that the lifetime value of an Apple customer is worth more than any stream of revenue from any other consumer products company. That's for one simple reason: the customer is always right." But hey, HB no. You do you. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Issue. Get 50% off an annual premium account with code macOS Ken at issueissue.com/podcast. This show is also sponsored by Factor. Use macOS Ken 50 at factormeals.com/macOS Ken 50 for 50% off your first box. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Patriotism swells in the heart of the American bear.